And welcome back, everybody, to the 2026 Blue Shoe TV podcast. Today, we are going to be covering the Class 3A state championships that is happening on Saturday. We are going to be going over the distance events, starting off with the 4x8, the 1600, 800, and 3200. As far as the weather goes for Saturday, it looks like it's going to just hold off the rain. The rain will stop right around meet time, and it'll be in the 70s to upper 70s throughout the meet, and it'll be a little bit cloudy. But the only concern for the athletes while racing is it might be a little bit puddly for them as it's going to rain the next couple days here in Lexington. But with that said, we are going to get straight into it, starting off with the girls 4x8. Top entries slash seeds, starting off with number one is Assumption. Assumption is entered with their A team, aka running Mabel George, and they are entered with a 925. North Oldham is the two seed, entered at 933. They are running their A team, it seems, as Millie Huang and El Cargold are entered as well. Then it goes to Highlands at the three seed. Four seed is Bull East with both of the Moonies running. Five is Campbell County. Six is North Laurel. Seven, Greenwood. And eight is Ryle. Now, Jake, obviously, you have people like from Assumption, you have Mabel George going after state titles in the 800 and North Oldham having Millie and Elle. Do you think that all of these like kind of top runners, even you can go down to, the Moonies, do you think that these runners are going to be running the 4x8, or do you think that they're going to be kind of saving up for their open events?
I think they'll run it. Assumption's the top seed, obviously, with that 925, but they're not as much of a favorite as they are in past years. Obviously, in 2024, they had the Class 3A state record of 902. It's not like that right now with the current lineup that they're going to run. It'll probably be around what they are running at that 925 range. Now, with that being said, I really don't see a world where they lose this. I think they just, off of pure talent, will probably be able to win this. I don't think the girls 4x8 is as stacked this year, so I think it'll be easier for them to win, whether it goes out hard or is a little more tactical, navigating through water puddles. So I'm going to pick Assumption to win. Now, usually in these 4x8s, there's a couple of definitely some surprising movement, and I'm going to try and predict that, and I'm going to pick Campbell County to get second, as their anchor Lila Dunleavy is seated fourth in the 800. So especially, if it's really puddly, gets kind of slow, having a really strong anchor really goes a long way here. Now, after that, off of pure talent, I think North Oldham has a really good lineup as well. So I will pick them to get third. If I had to guess, the winning time would probably be in the 920s. I don't see it being something ridiculous. Just a respectable time to get the win today.
Right. Yeah. I completely agree with Assumption winning it. I think that Mabel is only entered into the 800 Open. So, kind of giving that's enough time for her to fully recover and run the 4x8 and the 800. So I think that they're definitely going to run her in the 4x8 and kind of take advantage of this relay. I think that also kind of similar story for second place. I do think North Oldham will run their 18 because it looks like L is only entered in the 3200 and Millie is only entered in the 800. If I'm pretty sure that's correct. So also plenty of time to recover and fully get prepared for their open events later in the day, allowing them to put together a good relay team and get second behind Assumption. Third, I'm going to go with Bull East. I think that they'll run both of the Mooney sisters and will cause, obviously those two are some of the best girl runners in the state. Having them on the same team will obviously contribute to their third place finish. But obviously, a lot of unknown here. We don't really know who's going to be running, but with all the information that we have, those are kind of our picks. Now going into the boys 4x8. I do want to mention before we kind of get into the list and the seed times is the Class 3A state meet record was actually tied last year by Oldham County. It is 750.03. That is also what Central Hardin ran in 2016. It's the same exact time. So they're kind of co-state meet record holders, and that's the overall state meet record as well. Now going into it, Trinity is the one seed. they kind of ran a kind of a B team, A team. I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of their better teams, but they didn't run Jake Hagan. It looks like at region they ran an 804 male number 2 seed with an 807. They have both of the Kiser brothers. Obviously, really great duo coming up from CKY Homeschool to run for male this year. 3 seed is St. X without Nick Sanders at 808. 4 seed is Eastern also at 808. 5 seed Oldham County 809. 6 seed Marshall County running both Kobe Yates and Owen Futrell at 810. Could watch out for them. They kind of could be a sleeper pick. 7 is East Jessamine. 8 is Southwestern. Now, Jake, obviously, we don't really know people's rosters or their orders. What do you think, if you were Coach Cave, what would you kind of do with obviously the, looming, question about Nemo Kiser? Obviously, Nemo has split 150. He's ran really good this entire track season. We don't really know where he's going to be at in the order, assuming he runs. Where do you put him? What do you do if you're Coach Cave, running against a male team that is kind of an unknown?
I mean, yeah, like Trinity, obviously, I would say considerably they have the most talented squad in the state. I think for sure they should go for it. Will Stein says if you're scared, go to church. I think Trinity needs to go all in on this 4x8. They have the talent to win it, regardless of, Nemo Kiser, even if he splits in the 150-ish range. Trinity certainly has a good lineup to do it. I don't know what they ran in the New Balance, but I think it was in the 740s. There's no reason they can't replicate that with their main team of Aiden Albert and Aiden Taylor, Jake Hagan, and Sullivan Yaden. I think all of those people are very reliable runners. But how I see this playing out is, I do think Trinity should go all in on this 4x8, but I see a scenario where Mayo is also very all in on this 4x8 as well. So kind of how I see it panning out is that if Trinity doesn't have enough of a gap that final leg, Nemo is the most dangerous anchor in the state, and especially over that final 200 meters where it's going to, everyone's kind of swimming, just trying to get to the line. I think Nemo will be able to overtake this for the win. So I'm going to pick Mayo to win this. Trinity second. I think it'll be probably in the low 750s, maybe a little faster than that if people are really locked in. And then third, staying on my consistent predictions of, there's always one team that goes really crazy. I'm going to pick that team to be Marshall County at third. They have Kobe Yates, Owen Futrell. Both of them, I'm sure they can both run like combined. Owens ran 154. Kobe's certainly capable of something like 156, 155 easily. So if they can, it really boils down to their other legs in the relay. If they can, really all they need to do is just go out there, run 2 flat, 201. And, Marshall County's in a really good position. And I think that's what's going to happen here. So I'm going to pick them at third.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a slippery slope if you're, Coach Cave, obviously. You've got Aiden Taylor who's entered in the 1600 and 3200. I don't know. I don't think he ran. He did. I think I got it wrong. I think Jake Hagan ran at regions instead of Aiden in the 4x8. So I would assume that's kind of what they're going to do. Obviously, Aiden is one of the better runners in the state right now. I would be kind of surprised if he ran the 4x8. So, you could see kind of maybe a little bit of a not full A team, kind of one of their, subbing out some people like an Aiden Taylor. So I don't really know what they're going to do, but I still think that they can win. It's just it's going to be really stressful for them to have the correct order because someone like, Nemo is going to be able to close in 150, 151. And that's just a huge advantage to have when you're the male team. So you got to watch out for that if you're Trinity. But I do think Trinity will take this one in 750 high. Don't think they will get the state meet record just because of a little bit of not ideal conditions. Second, it'll be male. I think it'll be very close. I just don't know if Nemo's going to be able to get that lead down that Trinity is going to build up. Third, like you said, Jake, kind of predicting a team that's going to pop off a little bit. I don't think it's going to be Marshall County because I don't know if they're going to run Kobe Yates. I think Kobe Yates should and might run fresh in the 3200. We'll obviously talk about that later. I think that Oldham County has been really good, throughout the past couple of years. They won the last 2 years in the 4x8. There's no really reason behind this pick except for they've just been really good in the 4x8 and they always perform. So I think that you could see them get third place, especially if you see teams, kind of, give up a little bit once Trinity and Male, kind of get away from everyone. But after we are done talking about the 4x8s, now we will go into the 1600s, starting off with the girls 1600. Our top 8 seeds based off of region times. Number 1 seed is Addison Moore. Addison Moore has won so many state titles at the 3A level. She's entered with a 506. Has she ever won Dream Mile? Did we talk about that? I don't know, because I know she dropped out of this year, but she's obviously won state several times in the 1600. But she ran at CKC and ran like something really crazy in the 800 instead of the Dream Mile on her senior night. 2 seed is Nora Barker at 507. She was the Region 5 champion. Lucy Gaunt is the 3 seed Region 4 champion. Your 800 state champion indoors, Avery Van Lanningham, is your Region 5 runner-up. She is your 4 seed. Stella Carpenter is the 6 seed, or the 5 seed, I mean. 6 seed is Celia Modelin from DuPont Manual, 5'11". Savannah Mooney is the 7 seed, 5'12", and Charlotte Johnson is the 8 seed at 5'12". Now, Jake, obviously Addie Moore has been just kind of dominant over the past couple of years, at the 3A level. Do you see any chance anyone can pull off this upset?
No, I mean, straight up no. I think this field this year isn't weak, but it's weaker than the ones we've seen in the past. I think by far she's the top seed. I know she ran 506. Obviously, just getting in that Class 3A Region 6 title, you don't really have to push super hard. But yeah, I tactical, whether it goes out hard, tactical, I think no matter the conditions, Addie Moore is going to win the girls 1600. On that kind of same-ish note, I'm going to go with another Region 6 pick. Suzanne Estep performed very well at the cross-country state meet last year. So she's definitely she's no stranger to performing at these big-time meets. I'm going to go with the 3A Region 6 1, 2. I'm going to pick Suzanne Estep in second. And then third, kind of what we talked about yesterday with the younger people in the race kind of are playing with house money. So I kind of think that's what we see here with Lucy Gaunt from Sacred Heart, the freshman. Doesn't really have a whole ton of, well, I mean, she's one of the top seeds, but, there's not a whole ton of expectation. It's all house money, and she'll probably perform pretty well. So I'm going to pick her in third.
Yeah, I actually have that exact top 3 written down. I like that completely. Suzanne Estep's really reliant at the state meets, so I definitely think she will get second. Don't think any chance anyone's going to beat Addie Moore. I think she's going to go out there and kind of blister it from the gun, running right around 450, 452-ish, because I think she's just going to, that's the best case scenario. There's no point in making it tactical. And I obviously think Lucy Gaunt will get third. She's been running really good this entire season. She's really strong this year. Now going into the boys 1600, top seed Paul Van Lanningham, probably the best runner in Kentucky State history. He is your Dream Mile champion, enter with a 410. Grant Holbrook is the 2nd seed with 412. He was right behind Paul. He had a great region meet and ran right behind Paul on every single event. Xavier Richardson from Lafayette is the 3 seed with a 414. Aiden Taylor from Trinity is the 4 seed, also with a 414. Van Weimer is the 5 seed from Lafayette with a 414. Ethan Mann is entered with a 416. Nick Sanders, your runner-up last year at Outdoor 1600. He is entered with a 416, and Drew Kuhn is the 8th seed from Trinity. Now, Jake, kind of a little bit of a different question here. Grant Holbrook, obviously a really good runner, has ran really good throughout, the past couple of years. Had a crazy meet, just kind of exploded out of nowhere. Do you see him kind of being, I know at like professional talk shows, they talk about pretenders and contenders. Do you see Grant Holbrook obviously throwing down a 412, being right behind Paul? Do you see him being a contender or not really?
Well, what it boils down to, I think, is that you have to think about how this race is going to play out. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I look at this top 7, and I don't really see anyone that really wants to take it out. I think this is gonna kind of end up like the Dream Mile. It's gonna be kind of a lame tactical race, which I hope it goes really fast, but I don't know. I just have a feeling it's gonna be pretty lame and very tactical. Just kind of like what we've seen all year in the mile. None of them have been like really fast. Um, so in that case, a guy like Grant Holbrook, whenever the pace goes out a little slower, you'll see guys like him in the lead, which puts him at a disadvantage in terms of placement. Obviously, he just ran 4:12. He gave Paul a run for his money at the Region 5 meet last week. Obviously, a very talented runner, but I think with how the race will play out, it's going to be difficult for him to be in contention to win. He's more so of a guy that's going to place really high and run a fast time. So with that being said, in the scenario that it's kind of a tactical race, there's a couple people that come to mind. Obviously, you have Paul with the Dream Mile win. You have Nick Sanders. I'm not even gonna say like tactical, but obviously, he's known to have big negative splits, even at like the indoor meet. Where I mean, it wasn't. They didn't even go out slow. They went on 206, and then he came back with 159 to close out the win. However, I think Paul just has so much experience in the tactical races. Won this meet last year. I think he wants to defend his title. So I'm going to pick Paul Van Lanningham to win this. Second, I'm going to kind of go on a little bit of a curveball. Someone that I think is due for a big run is Aiden Taylor from Trinity. Now, that is a very dependent pick on if he runs the 4x8 or not. Um, I guess it's a little contradicting that I think Trinity should run their full team, but I also think Aiden Taylor might run fresh for the 16. It's hard to say, but if he's fresh, I think he's due for a big run. If he's, it looks a little different if he is in that 4x8 because there's not a whole ton of time in between. But I'm going to pick him to get second, breaking 4:10, and third. I think just off of pure talent, it's kind of hard to not put Nick Sanders in the top 3. He's going to the Air Force Academy this year. He's been an absolute stud for them. He ran 4:05 indoors. Um, yeah, he is also a guy that you could see win this race again. It's just I just want to make different picks.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree that Paul's going to win it. If you thought the Dream Mile was tactical, wait till you see this race. This race is going to be all sorts of tactical. You're going to see someone not supposed to be in the lead that's taking the lead, in my opinion. I think that Paul's is just going to make sure he wins this race, especially he's trying to pull off the triple. I think that Paul wins this at around 4:12. Nick Sanders is second and Van is third. I think it's basically just going to be a repeat of what happened at the Dream Mile. Just kind of, it's going to be really tactical, just kind of, a little bit of a chalk race. But switching gears towards the 800, we're going to go a little bit out of order here, and we're going to start with the boys 800. Obviously, our 8 seed is Sullivan Yaden 156, 7 seed Drew Karkston 156, 6 seed Van Weimer 155, 5 seed Grant Holbrook 155, 4 seed Xavier Richardson 155, 3 seed Paul Van Lanningham at 154, 2 seed Nick Sanders, and our 1 seed who we have brought on today as actually, he must have just left. We'll bring him on in a little bit, but Nehemiah Kiser is our 1 seed, and since I think he's having some technical difficulties, we can just go straight into the girls 800. We'll come back to the boys 800. Starting off with our 1 seed is Mabel George. She's entered with a 211. Avery Van Lanningham is at 217. Suzanne Estep 218. 4 seed Lila Dunleavy at 220. 5 seed Maura Ferguson 220. 6 seed Nora Barker 220. 7 seed Millie Huang 221. 8 seed Deanna Nava. So obviously, Mabel George is the 1 seed. Now, Jake, do you think that obviously if she's running the 4x8, might be a little bit tired? Same question, I had with Addie Moore. Is there any chance that anyone pulls off this upset?
No. Bottom line is that she's the most talented 800 runner in this field. I know you have people like Avery Van Lanningham that won the 800 3A title indoors, but I just think Mabel George is too much of a favorite in this race to be able to be taken down, whether the race goes out slow or hard. I think she'll be the person to win. I don't really see a world where she loses. So I'm going to pick Mabel George from Assumption to win this race. I don't know how it's going to play out tactically. It's definitely a toss-up. But obviously, Avery Van Lanningham has performed really big at the Class 3A meet indoors. So, kind of with that experience, I'm going to pick her to get second. And then third, kind of on the same track I was on earlier with Campbell County performing big, I'm going to pick Lila Dunlevy from Campbell County to get third.
Yeah, I think that Mabel obviously is going to win. A little bit of poor conditions, so I think she'll run right around the 210 mark. Avery Van Lanningham won Class 3A indoor state championships, so it's hard for me to pick against her to not get second at this race. She's been running really good this entire season in all the events. I think third place, I'm going to go a little bit of an underdog here. I'm going to go Maura Ferguson of Assumption. I think she's a freshman. She's been running really good, had a crazy good season. I think that there's a chance that she is going to pull off this kind of, upset of a position, but I think this is Mabel's race to lose. So, it's going to be kind of pretty chalk. And hopefully it is working now. We brought on the 1 seed for the boys 800, Nehemiah Kiser. Obviously, he is one of the best runners in the state, one of the best sophomores in the entire country, running 151, has split 150 before. One of the best runners in the entire state. He has entered in the 4x8, the 800, and the 4x4. And, we've brought him on just to ask a couple of questions, to pick his brain to see how he's feeling before this state meet. Now, Nemo, I'm just, obviously talking about a little bit about the 800 here. You came in, you obviously ran really good last season. I think you went 156, 157, as a freshman running for CKY. Now you're coming here, it's your first outdoor state meet, Class 3A. Do you feel like you're still kind of an underdog a little bit coming into this race, or do you think you've kind of shown everybody like who you really are throughout this season?
I do feel like I'm an underdog, but since I come from like the speed side, I feel like I have like a better advantage in the 800. But yeah, I do feel like an underdog because I haven't been put in this position and it's kind of new to me. But yeah.
Yeah, so kind of on that same track of, being an underdog, what is your perception of like success from this meet stemming from, the 4x8, 800, 4x4? What's kind of an ideal meet for you here?
Like how I would perform.
Yeah.
I mean, probably just getting like the win. I mean, I don't really care about times at state, so going out and just giving everything I got and just for the team because we have a team title on the line too. We have a good team, so yeah.
Yeah, touching into that team a little bit. Obviously, I see, lots of like social media posts from your teammates. You guys really have a strong culture over there at Mail. And obviously your team, you get to train with your brother. He's obviously a really good runner in his own right. Speak on that a little bit, how, motivating that is to, have such a strong team, such a good group of guys that you can train with each and every day. And, it's like kind of supporting and, go out there and do it for them a little bit.
hmm Yeah, it's definitely a big part. I enjoy running for a team that has a good program, and yeah, we enjoy running together.
Yeah, and talking about like kind of this is a really big meet for you. You haven't had to run a big state meet before. You have a big day on deck. How do you kind of recover and stay ready to go for multiple events at a meet like this?
Um, I think the biggest thing is just keep your mind off the race until it's actual race day because you can stay up all night thinking about it, or you can stay like 2 nights before even just like thinking about it, and it doesn't really help. It just kind of makes you more nervous and more excited. But you kind of let that adrenaline and just the nerves out whenever it's actually time to race because that's when it matters.
Yeah. So last question, Nemo. Obviously, I know that, in the 4x8, don't want to give away too much of kind of the position you're running, but obviously that's kind of just you're going as hard as you can. There's not a lot of race strategy that goes into that, especially if you're the anchor. You're just trying to, catch whoever's in front, or if you guys are in front, just run to the finish line. Obviously, now going towards the 800, obviously, what kind of race strategy, it's a pretty stacked field. You've got basically all the best 800 runners in the entire state entered into this race. what kind of race strategy do you think suits yourself the best? Or do you think you can kind of win several ways and you're kind of flexible?
I'm definitely flexible, but I mean, there's parts to like, like setting yourself up, like getting a good start, and then, just being in contention with 200, 150 to go. You don't want to get caught up in, a crowd. So I'd say for me personally, staying like out of trouble because I'm not used to running the 800 and the 16. I'm just more of a 400, 800 guy. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you for taking the time. Obviously, you've got a big day up and coming on Saturday, so we wish you the best of luck and thank you.
All right. Thank you.
That was Nemo Kiser. Obviously, great runner. He's running really good right now. Dude's an absolute tank. You know, just he's taller than I am. He's such a big guy. Now, Jake, obviously, I asked him a little bit. Obviously, it's hard for him to kind of share the race strategy that he wants to do. We don't want to give up too much insight and kind of play to other people's advantage. What do you think race strategy plays to the advantage best for Nemo to win this race? He's racing guys that are established. Like he said, he's kind of the underdog. He doesn't really know, hasn't really ran a race like this yet. He's racing guys like Paul who win all the time. He's racing X who won last year, won indoors. Nick Sanders has won several state championships in his own right. Tons of other guys that just are ready to run fast. How does Nemo win this race?
So when you look at the performance list here, you have obviously Nemo top seed at 153 from his regional meet. And then there's just about 10 people in that 156 to 157 range. So what that means is it's going to be a heck of a lot of traffic. This is going to be really, really bunched up. Obviously, in an 800, that's really dangerous. Obviously, you could potentially see some potential falls. Um, I think that's a very realistic scenario for a race like this. So if it's going to be bunched up, and we know Nemo, obviously he ran at that Eastern Relays leg of where he went 50 and 60. That is unbelievable. I've never heard of anyone that's been able to do that. He's truly a one of a kind athlete to be able to do that. I think for him to be able to win this race, it's just if he completely takes it straight from the gun, going out really fast. Not like maybe not 50 fast, but a lot of these people in this race aren't used to that kind of fast pace. And Nemo's kind of a unicorn in that sense that he's used to the really fast pace of this 800, whether it goes out in 53, 54. I don't know if some of the people in this race will be prepared for it. And if he can go out in that time range, I think it really benefits him the most. But that's not how I see it playing out. Obviously it's going to be very difficult to go out at a fast pace. And obviously he's coming off the 4x8. I think Mail's all in on the 4x8, so he'll be feeling some of that fatigue there. It's not going to be overly great conditions. So what it boiled down to for me is I kind of look at who is clutch at some of these big meets, especially in a tactical race. And now, although he's had, in his eyes, a little bit of a disappointing season, I think this is the time Xavier Richardson bounces back, wins the 800 in a 152-ish. Obviously, he's in the mile, but, he's used to these big triples. He obviously tripled last year going he went 153 in the 4x8, and then he went back, ran 409 in the mile, and then came back and completely stunned the field in the 800 running 153. Now, that's only because I think the pace isn't going out very hard. If Nemo goes out and anywhere from 53 to 54, he's going to win. Like I think it's like almost like clockwork. But that's just not how I see it playing out. So because I think with all the top seeds, it's going to be very bunched up. So I'm going to pick David Richardson to win. There's about 10 other people that could be noted for those two or threes, the second or third spot. I don't know how bought in Paul is into the 800. I wouldn't even be shocked to see if he doesn't run it. So I'm a little hesitant to pick him, especially if it goes out really hard. It may be hard for him to kind of keep up with that pace, but he's obviously the most talented runner, arguably in the state history. So I'm going to pick Nemo in second because I just think just off of pure talent, obviously, he's an absolute beast. Like 6'6". He's the ideal 800 runner. He has that 400 speed, run 48 for the 400. So I think I really don't see a world where Nemo doesn't get top three in this race just off of pure talent. And third, There was a couple guys I looked at for this, but I just think if Paul runs it, I think he will get third. If he doesn't, I think it'll be Nick Sanders. Obviously, he's ran 151. Um, he's also coming off the mile. That's kind of a trend we're seeing here. There's not a lot of people running fresh. This is many of people's second or third event of the day. So it's definitely a wild card for what can happen. But I think Paul can get third. If he doesn't run and goes all in the 3200, then I would pick Nick for that third slot.
Yeah, well, kind of going into, my insight and my picks, you brought up that 50-60 split, the Nemo split. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, that 50 seconds is probably, they're out of, you take the entire field. I mean, there's probably only like 3 or 4 guys that can run that as an all out 400, and
Yep.
and so I really, obviously we have no idea what Nemo's going to do. It's hard to predict how he's going to be able to recover, but man, if he could just take it out in 52, I think that would be pretty special.
That'd be
I think
awesome.
we are about to see one of the best races in Kentucky history. I think this is brewing. This is the best competition. We haven't seen Nemo race Paul or X in an 800 this outdoor season. He's raced Nick Sanders. Nick Sanders is, a great tactician in his own self, and Nemo's beat him both times. And I really would like to see this race go out in 52, 53 and just kind of see what happens, because that's the best case scenario for Nemo. This race goes out there, 52, he's the only person that can close sub 60. No one else is going to be able to open up that close to their 400 PR and come back sub 60. I think this race is won in the 151 range. And I think that if Nemo takes it out really hot, people are going to go with him, and it's going to cause a lot of people to die, and it's not going to be as fun. But if Nemo doesn't, take this lead, doesn't go out and go super hard and kind of runs a little bit hesitant, obviously because he's new to this meet, maybe goes out and 54. That's still really fast, but just not as fast as he needs it. Still keeps a lot of people in the race, like a Paul Van Lanningham. And that's what I'm predicting that happens. It goes out pretty fast, 53, 54. But Paul is right there in 55. He's right behind him, and maybe a little bit deep in the pack. And he's able to kick. He's able to close in 55. That's what he does in miles. That's what he does in 2 miles all the time. He's able to kick and close really hard. He's been working on his kick. He's basically, I think he's undefeated this outdoor season and basically everything against Kentucky runners. And he just has one of the best kicks. He's really worked on developing that. I think that he takes this one in 151. This is a little bit underground. He split a 151, I think, in the 4x8 at his region meet, pulling off this quadruple. So that's a little bit of a question mark if they run the 4x8. I don't think they will, or I don't think he will at least. But Paul has that strength. Paul has the speed. I think he's the only one that's able to beat Nemo. And I think that Paul will take this one in 151. With that said, though, I have Nemo getting second. I think this is going to be a lean at the line. It's going to be very close. Paul's going to have to really dig down to beat Nemo at the line, because I think Nemo is going to have this one for the basically entire race. And like we mentioned when Nemo was on here, the male team is very enthusiastic. They're going to be cheering him on. It's going to feel like a little bit of a home meet coming down the stretch for Nemo. And Paul's really going to have to dig deep and fight, someone that last 50 to 60 meters. Third place, I think Xavier. Xavier obviously has the experience in these big types of races. If he's able to sit back and race a little bit smart, I think he's one of the smarter racers in the field when it comes to the 800. I don't think he has what it takes to win the race, but I think he has what it takes to not to go out stupid fast. So I think he's top 3, whether it goes out really hard or slow. I think he'll be in the right position no matter what. And I think that he's kind of ready to run 152, 153 range. I think there's going to be kind of a big gap after Nemo and Paul, and you'll see kind of the 153 runners being, X, Sullivan Yaden, and Nick Sanders and such, and going on from there. But now as we move away from the 800, we're going to go towards the 3200. This is the last event we are going to cover in this podcast, starting off with the girls side. Number 1 seed, Elle Cargold. All she's entered in is the 3200 and potentially the 4x8. Obviously, TBD if she runs the 4x8, but we know she's going to be ready for the 3200. 2 seed, Addie Moore. coming off of the 1600. Her seed time is 11:11 from her Region 6 championship. 3 seed is Charlotte Johnson, 11:14. 4 seed from Assumption, Caitlin Perkins. 5 seed Suzanne Estep with 11:19. She lost to Addie Moore at her regions. 6 seed Sophie Bolin, 11:23. 7, the youngster from Lafayette, Mason Hanan Menges. She has ran really good this season. She ran 11:23, and the 8 seed is Caitlin Best. She was the Region 2 runner-up behind Charlotte Johnson. Jake, obviously, we don't really know if L is going to be running the 4x8, but we know Addie Moore is going to be running the 1600. If you're, the North Oldham coach, how would you kind of, style this race for L to beat Addie Moore? Because she's a little bit vulnerable, I would say, if she's, going hard in the 1600 before. So how is there a way, and how would you coach, someone like L to beating Addie Moore in this race?
Well, I think Addie's a heavy front runner in this race. Like whether she runs the 16 or not, or how gassed she is from the 16. So because of that, I think Ella's kind of playing with house money, because the thing is that there's like after the 1-2, there's quite a big gap. I would say at least. So I really think the only chance Elle would have at beating Addison Moore here is if she just goes with her whatever pace Addie decides to run, just tries to go for it. And if she starts falling back, hitting lactic, I mean, she's not going to lose position. At least that's not how I see it playing out at all. So I think if El Cargill wants a chance to win this, she has to go with Addie Moore the whole time and match every move she makes. And if it boils down to that final 400, she has to make the right move to kick at the right time. That being said, I do think Addison Moore will win this one, completing the 1600, 3200 double. She's obviously had a very good season, running 209 in the 800, winning the Eastern Relays mile, and then ran a really fast 3200 earlier on in the year. I don't see anything different that would cause me to deter away from picking her. I'm going to pick Addison Moore to win this. I think El Cargill will be second. I don't really see a way that kind of 1-2 gets shifted. Now, that third spot is a little bit of a toss-up. You have many people on their third event of the day. There's a lot of people gassed. Now, if you look towards a little bit more down from the list, Mason Heenan-Menges from Lafayette, the freshman, also playing with house money, is, to my knowledge, is completely fresh for this race, which is not something a lot of people can say for their entries in this race. Now, if it's going to be hot and humid and it gets really packed up, I think she's someone to look out for, because that's when people are on their third event of the day. It's really tiring, and then you also have someone young, really like going all in on this race. So I'm going to a little bit, and also a little bit of Lafayette bias. Sometimes the Lafayette guys, they perform big at 3200 and state meets. Sometimes they don't. But like guys like Jackson Prophet, he ran very big race last year in this 3200. Some of them can peak well for this race, but I think I'm going to pick a dark horse pick for that third spot, Mason Heenan-Menges for Lafayette in third.
Right. Well, following that up, I guess we won't talk about your 3200 state performance last year, but we'll go towards the, what my picks are. I think that Addie Moore is definitely going to win this. I think that Elle needs kind of the perfect race for her to win, and I just don't see that happening. I think Addie is, very intelligent and going to make sure that this race is set up for her to win, and she'll dictate the pace the entire time, I would assume. So I think that Addie will run and win in right around probably 10:50 or so. I think that Elle will be right behind her in second place, probably 10:52, 10:53 range. She is fresh, so she might push Addie to go a little bit faster. But I just think that Addie's too established of a runner for anyone to upset her. And then the three I have in my third slot, I have a little bit of an underdog, a little bit from DuPont Manual. I have Celia Maudlin. She's ran really good. She was one of the first girls out of the Dream Mile. She ran like 5:11 2 times. She's just been really good, had a really strong season, kind of showing how good she is. and the DuPont program is. So that is my third pick. I think, it's going to be kind of interesting for that battle for third, but I think the kind of top two are set out and set in stone. Now, lastly, we will go into the boys 3,200. Top seed is Aiden Taylor, 914. 2 seed is Christian Stewart, his teammate, 916. Basically, how this race went at the Region 4 championship was Christian took out the lead and Aiden was just falling right behind as he had ran the mile earlier in the day. 3 seed is obviously Paul Van Lanningham, 919. 4 seed is 938 and Kobe Yates. 6 seed or 5 seed is Ethan Mann of 938. 6 seed is Henry Kiser, 939. His teammate is the 7 seed Brady Filipazzo, and 8 seed is Saint X Matthew Frick. Now, Jake, obviously, Paul is going to be running several events beforehand. Aiden Taylor's going to be running several events beforehand. X and Van are also entered in this race. They're going to be running several events beforehand. Several runners are going to be running, so many races before this race. What do you see kind of playing out? How is that going to affect? Do you think that this race kind of sets up for a little bit of an upset?
There's not going to be like any upsets, I don't think. I mean, when you look at the top 10, it's all people on their third or some second or third event of the day. I'm not going to lie. I think this is going to be kind of garbage time race. I don't think there's a lot of people that obviously people are going to be a little unfocused. It's going to be hot, humid. And I just don't see a world where this runs very fast. There's going to be complete chaos. I have no idea what to expect for this type of race. But, I mean, considering everyone's kind of off multiple events here, it's going to go out slow. So I think you're going to see a complete random take the lead the first mile or so, kind of similar to last year, and then kind of surge. You'll see a surge later in the race, and then kind of whoever takes it after that or it matches every move is going to win this race. I have absolutely no idea what to predict for the top three, but what I have written down is everyone's kind of equally tired, so it just boils down to who's the most talented. In that sense, assuming I still think Paul will be able to win this just off of pure talent. Everyone's gassed, everyone's tired. He has all the tactics. I think even off that 16,800 double, he's ran 803 for the 3K. I mean, I just don't see a world where he gets taken down here. Obviously, it'll also be his last race in a Cooper jersey, presumably, unless he's going a big national meet. So I think that means a lot to him, and he's going to want to win this race. I don't think the time will be super fast, but that I don't think that really matters. Now, with how I see it playing out, I think this race favors Kobe Yates. Now, because if it's going to go out slow and there's a surge thrown in mid-race, I think that really favors him. You're not really going to see him in the lead early on. He knows how to play smart with the tactics. He ran well at the Dream Mile earlier this year. I think he can run a very big 3,200, and he'll really want to make himself known in that top pack. So I'm going to pick Kobe Yates in second. And, that third spot, you can really just go to anyone. But Christian Stewart's the only person fresh in this field. He's the 2 seed, so I'm just going to pick him at third. But no idea what that could go to. I wouldn't be surprised to see Xavier Richardson there, Van Weimer, all that. You get Ethan Mann. There's just a lot of names here that could really play side. I just don't know what to expect because I just don't know how everyone's going to handle the fatigue.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've seen a kind of trend in the past couple of years at the 3,200, and North Oldham has dominated. North Oldham always gets their runners prepared. I wish that there was a North Oldham runner that I could pick because I would, but, obviously it's not going to be a North Oldham runner that wins this year. The runner-up last year was Kobe Yates. Kobe Yates ran really well. He was the only one that was able to push it to the line just to get second. I think that Kobe Yates gets his redemption this year. I predicted earlier in the podcast, I don't think he runs a 4x8. I don't think he runs the 1600. I think he's going to make sure and run fresh. I think that's the smartest decision for him. I think he has a chance. And I think if he runs the 3200, he is one of the top seeds and one of the top dogs. I think that Kobe Yates wins this one. I think it's going to be actually pretty fast. The 3200 tends to kind of not mess around a little bit. They usually mess around the first mile, but you'll see something around 425 that last mile. So look for him, especially if he's fresh. That's definitely my pick. Second is I'm going to go Paul. Obviously, I think Paul is, obviously just one of the best runners in the state right now. He's going to be, challenged a little bit by, a little bit of fatigue coming off of, potentially 1600 and 800 state title. And I think he'll get second. Third, I'm going to go Aiden Taylor from Trinity. I think he's just, it's kind of up for grabs the third spot. Who's going to recover the best. I don't really know what events he's going to be running. Obviously, we just don't know if he's in the 4x8 or not. I would assume probably not because he didn't run it at regions, and you never know what his effort's going to look like in the 1600. If he's going out there trying to compete with Paul and Nick Sanders, my pick could be completely off in this 2 mile, but I think that he'll get third. I think he has a really strong kick and is able to contend and compete with the top dogs. But I think it'll be kind of that big separation, the same theme as it always has been, where it's two people fighting the last 400 to 600 meters. And I think Kobe Yates takes this one. Now, obviously, a lot of our picks can be, a little bit of, influenced by more information, less information. So it's hard for us to pick, but these are our insights. Thank you guys for watching, and a little bit of a put on as this concludes the season. If you are looking to run a fast mile, come run Mile Madness. Dream Mile is a little bit slow this year. If you want to run a fast mile, all heats will be paced. Championship mile is going to be paced right around 4 minutes to 4:02. It's going to be professional pacing, and we're going to make sure it's all fast miles and PRs. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck to everyone racing. Jake Hansen, this is your final podcast. Thank you so much, and see you guys. Good luck to everyone racing.